What is up, YouTube? Slotted Up 503. And join with me, as always, is my partner in crime, Rob.
Hey there, comic friends and fiends.
What's going on, everybody? Who do we got in the chat right now? We got Las Cruces, always first. Gary B. Alex, over at Tapia's family. We got Bandit Buzz. And we got Bryson. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode three of Comic Book Sidekicks Stock Comics. God, memory's hard when you get older, right?
What are we going to do when you get to 7 and you have to go to the second hand?
Oh, wow, we got a lot of people in here. Maybe it's slow. We got Comic Hunter, DJ Lynx, what up, buddy? We got Jay Spade, Tigger Jim, Super Jesse, we got Marty, and we got Old Man on Time. Nice.
I knew I was forgetting something. I had forgotten to grab the books from this week's this week's pickups. Now
I haven't even made it to the LCS yet, Rob. So,
well, I got there. So my LCS, half the crew is on COVID quarantine right now, and so the owner of the shop, who's been out quarantining at home and recovering from surgeries and some other stuff, she actually had to go into the store and had some people from her other shop, which is a game shop, coming over to help. So they're closed down the store on Tuesday, which they normally don't do, to receive their goods and then get everybody's subscriber boxes together. I got there at 11 a.m. when they opened. I stood in line for 45 minutes because they only let 3 people in the shop at a time, and they never let anybody but like one person in because they were still pulling everything. I had to leave to go back home for a meeting, and I went back in the afternoon. But I'll fly through quick then.
There you go. Let me go ahead and big in you here. Show us your.
This week we got ourselves the Harley Quinn future state pickups there, of course, because Harley, and the Batman, next Batman.
So the same books I'm getting.
Yeah, of course. The Black Knight, King in Black, the King in Black Gwenom versus Carnage. Of course, I get some variants will be coming shortly. The David Nakayama, that's great. I love the facsimiles, so I'll grab myself a facsimile. This amazing Spider-Man there with Morbius. Star Wars 11.
Facsimiles, poor man's grail.
That's right. I'm surprised on how some of them go up, in price. To be surprised. So, right. Yeah, you got the Star Wars High Republic, and of course the 1 in 25 variant.
Nice.
That everybody wanted and scrambled for. The High Republic Adventures, and then the 1 in 10 incentive on it. A couple Strange Academy covers.
Nice.
I didn't get the Mardi Gras one, though. Couple Venoms. And last but not least, again, my girl, the Black Label Harley Quinn, the Dodson cover. Although I didn't think about it, I probably need to go back and get the Amanda Connor cover just because I have the first 2 issues are signed by Amanda Connor, so I need to probably get the others so I can send the rest of them off to Paper Films and get them signed as well.
Nice. So speaking of sending off, our topic for this week is the special labels at CGC, whether it's worth it, to say the least.
All right. So, I kind of touched about this earlier in the week or last week on one of my openings when I was opening up a Mark Brooks cover. But so, what? Give someone the peace sign. And so we're talking about the labels there, whether or not they're a big hype. Some people just totally dig them. They just, especially when they're selling them, they make a big point about, it's got the special custom label. It's got the custom label. But does it matter? Do you, when you go look for one of these, Jason, does it matter to you whether it's got the label or not?
Honestly, no. I mean, it doesn't matter to me, but am I a sucker sometimes for something like that?
Mhm.
Absolutely. Like if it's like a book per se that I want and it's this price on like say eBay without the special label and it's like, a little bit more with the special label, will I pay the extra little bit of more if it's something I want? Yes, absolutely.
Really? Because I think about it and I sit there and go, and this is the only one I've ever done with the label. And I think about it and I look at it and I go, okay, well, fortunately, this one, the comic still jumps out. But, that label, I don't know. It's like, it starts to have too much. I mean, this piece is pretty minor. Some of them have a much more bold art in there. And it does start to draw your eyes away from the book itself into the label, making the label the feature for some reason. Yeah, no, Gary, that makes sense. I mean, I'm not going to say that they're bad. I don't think that it enhances it personally myself. What I will say though is it's a money grab, and
It is.
I just want to make sure that the audience is very careful on these. If you're submitting your own books with these labels, think about a couple things. We kind of had this conversation. We talked about, it's $5, and yeah, $5. It's only $5. Doesn't seem like all that much, right? Well, if the cost of grading the book is 18, assuming you have a membership, right? Then all of a sudden now you've increased it by almost 30%, the cost of the grading. And if it's just one book, no big deal. You're sending in 10 books. Now all of a sudden you just put $50 extra on there, right? Assuming all of them have custom label capability. What is the cost to CGC? Well, obviously the piece of papers, they're going to put a piece of paper in there no matter what. So it's only the licensing fee to Marvel. And is Marvel, I don't know, let's just say Marvel's asking $250 for it. It's probably high. It's probably no more than $1 a label at the high end, probably and realistically. But
30% maybe.
But even if it's 50% of the cost, that's a huge markup for CGC there. They're the one who's walking away and pocketing it and laughing at you for spending it potentially. But there's a secret hidden cost that I discovered. And I want to make sure, this is where I want to caution people. So I had a set of Wolverine miniseries 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I thought to myself, I'm going to send these in. They're high grade. They're potentially, after pressing, they're 9698 candidates, right? So I send them in. I said, you know what? Maybe I'll get that Wolverine logo on there. I was being foolish and silly for a moment, and I submitted the first book with the logo. No problem, pops up. But issues 2, 3, and 4 weren't logged in their system as being eligible for that logo. So at first, I'm like, okay, well, no big deal. I guess I'll only have it on issue 1. When I got to the end, thankfully I checked before I hit my checkout. Even though I was doing one submission, that one change of taking one or more books with a logo and them not breaks it into a separate shipment for return shipping, which then incurred a whole separate shipping charge of another, $40?
$40, yeah.
Yeah. So now it's not just the $5, but now it's an additional $40 on top of that. So $45 for a book that if you're only sending in 2 or 3 books and only one of them is getting that label, you just huge change on your thing. So just be aware of that if you're sending in your books. Ultimately, to me, I think that's an important piece of information to be aware of. That's not really, I think, talked about.
Yeah. And not every hero has a label either. That's something that, I found out recently. Like when I started first seeing those special labels, I was like, oh, sweet. I wouldn't mind sending in, this Spawn book or, this book. And then I find out, there's only 22 of them, 11, regular labels and 11 signature series. And if your book doesn't fall in that category of that, those ones they do, you can't get it.
Well, it has to be designated within our system too, that they've identified it. So like I said, the Wolverine would be eligible for Wolverine, but no, not all of them. And are there any DC ones yet, or is it just Marvel?
I didn't see any DC ones. I think all I've seen so far are the Marvel. When I looked on their website, I seen there was 22 of them total. There was 11 regular labels and 11 yellow labels. So they added, like I said, Miles Morales. They added like the Young Doom. They added a few this year.
Well, I know they cycle them in and out. Anyways, curious, what do you guys think? I mean, ultimately, I mean, we've seen, Gary says if it's the right character, and I could buy that. I mean, the right character maybe. I'm a sucker for Spider-Man, so I do say that like what brought me thinking about it was the Spider-Man label, but I've yet to pull the trigger once I start. I'm a cheap bastard at heart. That's why I liked PGX so much for so long, right? Just as it was cheap, but sometimes it's not about the cheapest, and sometimes it's about what just makes you happy. I suppose it is a collection, and it's your collection. And I do say, do what you want. Don't listen to anybody, right? Including me. So what do I know?
Fat man with a fat stack of comics.
Yeah, and apparently a fat opinion. Anyways,
Gary B, what about Slim still in here? What do you think, Slim, about or Comic Hunter? What do you guys think about the special labels? Or DJ Link?
You guys chase after them at all, or is it just if you get it, you get it? And
Gary B says if there was a Conan or a Spider Woman, he would be all over.
He'd be all up on the Red Sonja. He'd probably be up all on the Red Sonja one, no doubt.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's true. I mean, like I said, I'm a sucker for Spider-Man a little bit. I mean, so I think about it, and that's what made my thinking about when I opened up that Mark Brooks Saturday Evening Post Spider-Man. I was like, kind of like, oh, that would kind of be kind of cool. That was the first thing that came out of my mouth, and then I thought about it afterwards. I'm like, well, no, not really.
Yeah, I think I've only got one maybe. Gary says he doesn't have any, and I think it's not by choice. It was out of a mystery box.
Yeah, I mean, this one is one I submitted, and I did get it. And I probably did it mostly just because at this point I was, the book itself isn't obviously all that much of a value book, but it was because I was getting the double remark on there, which is kind of hard to see on here. This other remark here, the Della Rosa remark of Venom, along with the Bagley Spider-Man on it. So it was kind of like a double sign, double remark. Let's go ahead. Might as well. What's another $5 at that point, I suppose, was my thought. Clown Hunter from DC or Gwen said, hey, I'm down with it.
You were talking about a Batman special label.
Well, yeah. I mean, so it's not a character label, but there is going to be, if you guys haven't seen, the 35th anniversary of The Dark Knight Returns coming up, rather. And CGC is having Frank Miller and Klaus Janson for a double signing with remark options, and any Dark Knight Returns book that's sent in for that signing will have a special notation on the label that it was part of the Dark Knight Returns anniversary event. So whether it's Dark Knight Returns or Dark Knight Falls or Dark Knight Triumphant or whatever, Dark Knight goes to Costco, whatever it is.
That would be a nice one right there, Bandit Buzz. The Stan Lee custom labels. For sure.
Yeah. Well, and there was some there was some Stan Lee custom labels, and I've seen some of those books where you have the Stan Lee signature and they got Stan Lee on the custom label. Nowadays it makes you feel kind of.
I have one getting a special label at CGC.
Nice.
Memory, right? Memory.
So there you are. That's my piece on that one.
Nice. Well, I got a little piece of news here that I thought I'd bring up. I seen people talking about it on Instagram today. I seen it on I forgot the website I seen it on now, but I seen it online. And then after I seen it, I seen Anachronic Comics talking about John Michael Bendis, writing for the Justice League and all that. And basically what DC is considering, I don't know if this is just a rumor, how true it is, but something, you read on the internet, right? Take it with a grain of salt. But apparently they're considering renaming the Black Adam to Shazam. You heard it right,
Well,
Shazam.
in focus groups, it beat out Blasm.
I don't get it. I mean, I don't really like it. I don't know why, but apparently, the new Justice League that Michael Bendis is writing, Black Adam or Shazam is going to be, playing a good guy and, being one of the key roles in the new Justice League. So we'll see how that goes with, maybe possibly a good guy role, a good guy look, a new name. And I think it was, like I said, Anachronic Comics said maybe Dwayne The Rock Johnson had something to do with him being a good guy. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what's up, Chip? It is.
Did he poop
I agree.
For me to poop on?
Figure Jim's like, yep. I mean, let's hope it's not true. That just
if they start having Black Adam say, "Do you smell?" He'll drop the Shazam elbow. No.
Right.
So another thing that kind of came up for me this past week was kind of interesting. I wanted to kind of thought of it was, obviously there's been a lot of talk, various people. The number of variants with some of these big books, some of the big books has kind of exploded, obviously, right? Venom is like the king of freaking variants. It seems like there's 25 variants for every issue that comes out, whether it's a benchmark book or not. And Thor's got a trillion of them, pretty much all these books, 800 different variants. And I'm not going to talk about whether or not variants are a good thing or a bad thing, because I think there's a lot of people who've discussed whether or not it's killing anything or personal opinions on them. Obviously, I like variants, so I'm ruining comics. I've already established that. But what's interesting is I like to go after some of these really low runs. And The High Republic was one of these books that when it came out, there was a variant that was released that was only 600 issues, and through the Comic Mint, who is a limited print run to 600, or I'm sorry, it was 600 available for retail sale is the correct terminology. And I ordered one of those through a company called Amorphous Inc. Amorphous Inc. partners with the Comic Mint, much like that Spider-Man booth or Street Level Heroes partners with Unknown Comics, etc. Very common in industry. And I received an email. It kind of like just struck me as odd. I'm used to, as a collector, there's a lot of animosity against flippers, right? The people, and we all go out there and we all get a book and we maybe, mystery box or something and flip it and whatever. That's not the same thing as the people who are going out and chasing and buying up all these low print variants and immediately turn around and selling them on eBay before they even come out yet. And so that you, as the collector who just wants to get one, can't get one, right?
Yeah.
And I think we've all gotten there where we've had hey, this pre-sale, go on order at 10 a.m. and you log in and at 10:01 you've got it in your cart and you're trying to check out and they're already sold out, right? Frank, yeah,
I've heard a lot of people say that same thing about those "something is killing the children" variants. Yeah. They're like right there, right at minutes, 20 minutes before the time it goes live, refreshing their thing, trying to get it, and I've read lots of complaints.
Yeah, and there are people who are telling you, they're saying, "Oh, it's bots and this, that, and the other thing," and people telling you some different tricks to try to make it better and stuff. And the question almost kind of comes is, how much should the retailer try to control it? I mean, they're in the business of making money, right? Is it on them to even try to control it, or should they just allow it, right? I mean, I've seen two different sides of the coin. And one side of the coin, for example, if you guys are familiar with Frankie's comics, Frankie's has gotten to the point now where they've got, if you're a member of his group, 30 minutes before it goes on sale to the public, he'll make it available to the group with a unique password that he releases as it goes live, and it limits you to only one purchase. And if he catches you buying more than one, he automatically, without asking you, refunds all of your orders and cancels your orders. Right? But the other day, the Miles Morales 23 with the doing the layup, whatever, right? That sold out. Bam. He found somebody had managed to buy like 100, still with all that, managed to buy like 188 copies, 91 sets and 97 trades. He immediately canceled them all and then told the group, hey, these are back up for sale. And now he's asking questions about potentially putting 2-factor authentication in order for you to have to place an order. You have to sign in and you have to do this 2-factor. I mean, that's some major hoops. That's somebody who's really trying to say, I want my books and my exclusives to go to collectors.
Yeah, right? And they also joined the group. They went out of their way to join the group, went the extra mile. Yeah, I get that for sure.
So from a collector standpoint, I go, cool. I like that. I want, it benefits me. But then there's the other side, right? So Amorphous Inc. sent out this email the other day, and listen to this, because I'm going to read you. This is the exact email, so I have no problem sharing this, because this was a mass email that the owner of the company sent out to everybody who placed the order. I'm not going to embellish this, put extra words or anything else into it, so I'm not being libelous here, right? If you're receiving this email, you ordered the High Republic from me. As some of you already know, my copies of the exclusive arrived last weekend, and unfortunately, as I was starting to set up orders and process the books, I discovered that the majority of my copies were damaged. Not terribly damaged, but there was consistent color rubbing. Most sellers probably would have gone ahead and shipped them, but I know I wouldn't be happy if I was on the receiving end of these copies, especially on a book that has appreciated in value so much. So the good news is I've gone back to the Comic Mint and they're confirmed that they're going to send me damage replacements. Okay, great. So far, he's communicating to his customers, telling us, I got damaged books. I'm looking out for you. Look how great I am. I'm blocking for you, buddy. Continues on.
Misdirection.
So sorry for the wait thus far, and thank you for your patience. I trust most everyone will be willing to wait a little bit longer to receive a higher grade comic copy. So I'll hope that you'll be patient a little longer while I wait for the Comic Mint to send them out. That said, you'll obviously note that I said that most were damaged, not all. So now that I've confirmed I can get more better copies, I don't know, that language is weird, but more better copies, what he wrote, I'm going to ship out what good copies I currently have, but I'd like to do so in intelligently as possible. Okay, again, we're still good so far. Now here's where the fun begins. I know that some of you have resold these books, and I'm prioritizing your orders since there is a third party involved. No disrespect to collectors, but if this book is for your PC, waiting another week or two won't make a difference. But for those with buyers waiting, it does. So please email me back if you've sold your copies so I can prioritize your orders. Please do not email me back if you haven't, as it's just more to sort through. I understand what he's trying to do, but I was just kind of dumbfounded, as I've never seen a retailer come out and say, I'm going to prioritize somebody who's just buying from me and eating up my inventory and turn around and flipping it and driving the prices up over the real collectors. I've just never seen that in the industry before. I don't know what you guys think, if that would turn you off from yeah, Super Jesse. Yeah, exactly. That's why I was dumbfounded by this.
Yeah, it's a little crazy, but I mean, I guess I'm not saying I'm a flipper. I agree with flipping, but from a retailer's standpoint, if you're selling something and someone's buying say 20 copies or 10 copies versus someone that's buying one copy. I'm not saying it's right per se, but I get wanting to make someone who buys more happy than someone who buys less. That makes a little sense.
It's an argument, but I mean, like I said, I mean, look, I think what it shows is the company who cares about. On one hand, you have a company who's obviously doing everything they can to block the bots and give collectors priority. That person obviously cares about the collection and the collectors, and that's the market he's decided that he's willing to emphasize and build a loyal fan base around. Whereas this is a person who's a businessman who really doesn't care who his customer is, just so long as he sells his inventory, makes a profit. Now, that's capitalism. He's entitled to do that.
Yeah, that's a pretty valid point, Comic Hunter. I mean, who knows? I mean, he is in a rough spot because he has a lot of people that are expecting the book, and he can't make everyone happy. So that's a rough spot to be in general.
Yeah, I mean, his only other alternative really is to sit there and hold the inventory and wait to ship them all at once, right? Or he could just do first orders in, first orders out. And if that means that you're having to sit on it and wait, well, tough. That's what you have to deal with for turning around and selling something that you don't even have in hand, right? That's the piece that to me is crazy. Is the difference between if I pre-order 5 or 6 copies and then I get them in hand and then I go list 4 copies online because I pick which one is the best one for me. That's one thing. I'm not saying that I do that. I'm just saying that's one thing versus the guy who's buying 5, 10, 15 copies, turning around and immediately listing them on eBay when weeks before it even comes out at a markup, because he bought up all the inventory for a low print, high demand thing. And now it's basically saying, hey, I'm going to take care of them because I don't want to listen to them cry, but they spend money with me. So, again, I think it's just as a collector, it turns me off, and it's pretty much going to steer me away probably from doing much business with him. I'm probably not going to turn them off 100%. I'll be honest, simply because every once in a while I like the Comic Mint covers, and the Comic Mint has a lot more of the bots buy up his inventory. Amorphous Inc. Segments some of their inventory into their group. Now, that could have been the other thing he could have done. He could have taken care of those that are in his group that had a password, that had to use the password to get in. He could have prioritized them. Say, hey, that's a benefit of being in the group. You get priority. That helps to build those collectors, that brand loyalty. I don't have any brand loyalty right now to him because of this. Frankie's, he's going out of his crazy way to try to do stuff. I don't do a lot of business with Frankie's, but I'm inclined to give him a more look because of the way he goes out of his way to look after us, the collectors.
Yep. I mean, I totally get that. I mean, yeah, it's frustrating for any collector to go do, a comic book shop and be like, all right, I want to get the next book in line to read. And they're like, yeah, we don't have any, because someone deemed it a spec book or a hot book at the time or a special cover, and then someone came in and bought them all. So,
well, I mean, and the last piece I'll go to, I think it really kind of, I don't know about you, but most of us, I think, my LCS, if there's a hot book that all of a sudden, they ordered X amount, right? Obviously the subscribers are going to get theirs, and then they have a few extra, they're trying to balance how many more they think they're going to put on the shelf. If all of a sudden between the time they got their FOC order placed and there's all of a sudden an announcement of a new character or something else, and all of a sudden there's that sudden demand, they go out and they're going to put a 1 per customer on there, or they're going to pull them off from behind from the shelf altogether, put them behind the counter, and sometimes they'll put, oh no, we're all sold out, and they'll only sell them to people who are regulars. Again, 1 per person, because they're more interested in preserving their standard customer base versus the guy who's calling around to every shop. Hey, do you have this in stock? Do you have it in stock? Can you hold 5 of them for me? I'm coming on down, and making a quick buck, right?
Well,
So
even my yes, I like, for instance, like haha number one, old man collectibles that said he had missed out on grabbing one. So when I went to the one that I go to, that's ways away, I went and grabbed a couple extra copies of haha number one. And I was going to send him one, and when he went to ring me out, he pulled a couple of them out of my stack and was like, "Only one per customer."
yeah, it's all about the LCS has to live and breathe by the community that that supports them. So.
Absolutely.
Anyways, so that's that piece. I know we're up against our end here, so I got a last piece of news information. It's just short. My spec piece of news for the week was, Punchline. Apparently, there's rumors of an HBO series. We saw it, and of course, that's all. We've also heard Tinian talk about that. The little introduction that we've had thus far in Joker War is not the end of Punchline. And so potentially those books are still affordable and out there to be had. That's a spec book. If you're a speculator and you're all about getting some value, that you might, if you haven't yet somehow got behind, I don't know, then you might want to join that train.
And HBO Max is huge right now. I mean, like all the movies coming out on HBO Max, all these, Harley Quinn show on HBO Max. If you guys haven't watched that animated series, it's pretty fantastic. So anything HBO Max right now, I think is hot. And I think if they do Punchline, I think they'll probably do it pretty good.
Yep. All right. That's what I got for this week.
Yep, that'll be the show for this week, guys. Tune in next week on Rob's channel for episode 4 of Sidekicks Talk Comics.
Woo!
See you next week.